In this video, I'll find out if I can paint some models with just the contents of one of these brand new John Blanche Masterclass sets, volumes 3 and 4. Spoiler alert, the answer is no. I can't paint these Frostgrave cultists with, just the contents of one of these two boxes. For one thing, these guys have swords, and swords are generally made out of metal. These new boxes here don't come with any metallic paints. That's not what these new sets are about. So I had to cheat and use heavy metal for the swords. It's a metallic John Blanche color from the Volume 2 box set back at the beginning of last year. But otherwise, yes, I was able to paint these dirty cultists with just the paints in the Volume 4 box. But should I? I'm getting ahead of myself. Like I said, early last year, the Army Painter came out with 2 new paint sets based off of the colors that the great illustrator and father of Grimdark, John Blanche, popularized years ago. These sets were mostly like dark colors, predominantly warm colors in the browns, reds, yellows, stuff like that. But there was a great ivory color and a golden yellow and some dark and moody kind of blues and greens and stuff like that. The sets also included a metallic color, one in each box, and there was a speed paint as well in each box. And there was like a wash or 2 depending on the box, and there was even a rust effect paint. The sets sold like crazy, which made sense because they were totally great, and, John got paid, so it was a win-win. I made a video using the sets to paint an Inquisitor that I kit bashed. Pachow. I like to call him Inquisitor Babby, and he turned out great, at least I think so. However, I had 2 entire sets of paints to choose from when using Volume 1 and 2, including metallics and washes, and even 2 speed paints, Blood Moon Red and Turnbull Turquoise, which are 2 of my favorite speed paints still to this day. That wasn't a particularly hard, challenge, really, but then the Army Painter sent me these 2 new John Blanche sets. One of these is upside, no, they're right side up. And I wasn't sure what to do with them. These new sets are considerably different from the first 2 sets. For one thing, they're generally brighter colors. The first sets were grim dark, heavy on the dark, but these new paints follow in kind of the same color space, but lighter. Good for highlighting volumes 1 and 2, honestly. That's the way I kind of look at them. Also, these sets are mainly just regular opaque paints. No metallics, like I mentioned, no speed paints. Each set does have 2 shades, or washes if you want to call them that, included as well. And then lastly, Volume 3 is all cooler colors, and Volume 4 is all warmer colors. Mostly. Now, I hear what you might be saying. Uncle Adam, there's green paints in the warm set. Green is a cool color. And there's red and pink in the cool set. Those are warm colors. And that's somewhat true, but colors are really kind of on a spectrum, a light spectrum, technically. And as you go from one end of the light spectrum to the other, the colors sort of fade and blend together. They don't start and stop. It's just a long gradient, right? Therefore, you can have a green that's closer to the yellow side than to the blue side, which makes it kind of warmer, right? And then due to the color wheel, which is not just a spectrum, but kind of goes in a loop like that, then you can have a cool red as the colors come back around again towards violet. It's science. So I wanted to see what I could do with these, but early on, I decided to make a decision, either warm or cool. I don't know about you, but I find that when left to my own devices, the paint schemes that I usually come up with tend to be on the warmer color spectrum, right? I almost always end up using browns and reds and tans, stuff like that. Now, you might be the same, or you might skew towards a cooler color kind of palette. My good friend Vince Venturella probably loves the cooler colors of the set 3 here. I'm pretty sure these are all kind of his jam. I think it was a really smart way to separate the colors of these 2 sets by going, warm and cool. So since I was already challenging myself to paint, some models with just one of the boxes for reasons, then I thought I'd give myself a break and use the Warm Set, Volume 4. I could see myself using pretty much every color in that set on these cultists that I was planning, except maybe Sun Petal. The image in my head didn't really include a warm golden yellow, but like everything else, even including the vibrant green Glade Shard, was probably gonna work. I built the Frostgrave cultists, which I didn't shoot any footage of for reasons, and then I got to priming. And here's where I cheated for the first time, kind of. I primed the 3 cultists black. Now, that's not the cheating part, right? I primed nearly everything black. However, I usually then spray a white zenithal over the black, pachow, to make the model look kind of black and white, like a black and white photo, and then I paint with a lot of transparent colors. I color in the black and white photo using speed paints and washes and stuff like that. Since most of the paints in this box are the opaque Fanatic paints, then I thought, well, then the white zenithal's not necessarily gonna work. However, a dark brown zenithal perhaps would. So I sprayed oak brown air paint from above over the black primer, with my airbrush. Now, why did I do this if I'm just going to be covering up these layers with the other opaque colors next? Well, brown is a warm color, so I thought it'd help the overall look that I was going for in these models. Plus, any spots I missed, like crevices and creases in their robes and stuff like that, would then have a dark, warm shadow down there, as opposed to having, say, like a white shadow if I had done the white to black zenithal and then covered it in, opaque paints. But as it turned out, I also ended up using that dark brown for more than just a little shadow kind of, area in the crevices. But we'll see more of my failures soon. Once these models were like sprayed and ready and all that kind of stuff, and it gave them time to cure, and then it was time to start painting. I didn't want these cultists to be all like matchy-matchy, in their outfits. I didn't want them to look all twinsies, But now that they're all finished, honestly, I probably should have gone that route instead. I started by painting their faces. Well, 2 of their faces. One cultist's hood completely kind of like covered his face, so I didn't paint that face, obviously. And I used Hearthborn, which is a pleasing shade of Caucasian, in my opinion. I like this color quite a bit for skin tones, at least as a base, right? Then I used Umberroot and Root Path on the boots. And again, switching it up so they didn't look like they all went to the same shoe store, right? Like some of the guys I did with the Umberroot, and then other ones I did with Root Path and all that kind of stuff. I'm just doing very, very simple stuff here, like tabletop quality, and basically as quick as I can. These cultists aren't really the kind of main character types. Continuing to work, mostly inside out, starting from the skin and kind of going out, which is always a good idea. I talked about this many, many years ago. Pachow. I started then working on the pants. If I painted the cultist boots Umberroot, then their pants were going to be Root Path. And if their boots were Root Path, then the pants were going to be Umberroot. Again, a limited palette, but I don't want to just paint the exact same scheme on all 3 guys. After the pants, it was then time for the robes. And here I decided that 2 of the cultists, the ones where you could kind of see some of their faces, would kind of match, each other. And the other one, their leader, I decided, it wouldn't. On the 2 flunkies, I used Bloodthorn, which is a pretty vibrant red, and Embervale, which is a pretty punchy orange. I alternated between their skirts and their tops. Like one got the red skirt and the other one got the red top and vice versa, right? And upon looking closer at the models, should they have had different colored tops and skirts, right? Was it like a skirt? Or was it more of a robe and then that should be attached to the top and everything? Like one of the guys definitely looks like he's got a different top than his skirt. And so, does it really matter? The answer is no. So I kept moving along. The leader, such as he is, he was done with the kind of warmer greens instead of the reds. Thicket Grove and the very bright Glade Shard on his kind of top. I painted everyone's gloves with colors that I hadn't used prominently on that model yet, and then I worked on the hoods. When I'm working with a limited palette like this, purposefully constraining myself to just these colors in this box, plus, a little bit of cheating, then decisions get made. Maybe not good decisions, but decisions nonetheless. I cheated and, like I said earlier, and used some heavy metal silver from one of John's earlier sets to paint their kind of weird bendy weapons, and then they were mostly done with the base coats. And if I do say so myself, they looked god-awful, like just really bad, really like a clown threw up on them, just oof. But I had an idea to fix that, and it actually worked surprisingly well. If you watch me live stream, paint live stream on Twitch, which you should, Monday nights and Friday mornings at twitch.tv/tabletopminions, link in the description down below, you've probably heard me sing the praises of something called marine juice. It is a unifying wash recipe that I first heard about from Sonic Sledgehammer here on YouTube. Pachow. And you mix up a big bottle of it, or maybe just as much as you need, or whatever, and then you kind of slop it all over your models to sort of tie the colors together and enhance the model detail and darken things up just a little bit as well. I didn't want to cheat again, by using that recipe on these, at this point, currently very ugly dudes, but I could use the two shades in this box to make a new recipe. Grove Hollow shade, which is greenish, and Vine Root shade, which is reddish purple, mix together in equal parts really well to make an interesting ruddy brown wash color. Then I added speed paint medium, probably about a little bit more than equal parts. If I'm honest, I think what it was like 4 drops of Grove Hollow and 4 drops of Vine Root to 6 drops of speed paint medium, roughly. Don't quote me on that, but that's pretty close. Mixed it all together, and this made my own recipe of marine juice. Maybe it's cultist juiced. Cultist juice? That doesn't sound any better, honestly. Anyway, it worked pretty well as a unifying wash, and I spread it all over those guys, mopping up any puddles that may have come about on the models, but otherwise slopped it everywhere. And once it all dried, they didn't look god-awful anymore. Actually, they didn't look half bad for simple tabletop goons that took like maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Probably would have been shorter if I hadn't been filming. Even though I used the warm paint set and the warm paint kind of area is always sort of my jam, these just don't still exactly look like how I normally paint. But it's important to try new things once in a while. Again, don't do what I did here, right? Like these sets aren't meant to be standalone sets. They're designed to augment the colors that you might already have, especially if you have the John Blanche Volume 1 and Volume 2 sets. They're all brand new colors to the Army Painter Fanatic line, and they go on pre-order today on the Army Painter website, today as this video goes live. And then they release in February. And if you're interested in saving 5% off of your order when you order them, actually off of your entire order, then you can use offer code FACTORYUNCLE5 at checkout to get 5% off. And again, not just on these sets, but anything that you buy on the Army Painter website, whenever. It's an affiliate link, so it helps me in the channel, and it saves you money. Again, it's a win-win. Check out all the links in the description down below. Do I think that giving yourself challenges like this, like using a limited number of paints from a single set, is a good idea? It can help you to learn things about the way you like to paint. It helped me learn that I generally prefer to use specific colors and not limit my options too much. It also helped me learn that I have no problem cheating when giving myself arbitrary limitations. What did you learn? Do you think that you might like to try something like this? Are you interested in the new Blanche sets? Let us all know down in the comments below. And some depressmentation of the like button is also always helpful. And while you're down there as well, if you're not already subscribed, there's a button. You can hit it. It's free. Thanks for watching.